Often, anxiety is thought to be negative. It's a lingering response to sensing a threat and feeling stress, fear, pressure, irritability, or ruminations. And when those feelings become excessive, scenarios that may trigger feeling anxiety are avoided. Over time, this avoidance can start an anxiety disorder that now interferes with any daily routine. And because anxiety is one of the most common mental health concerns, many people adjust their lives around it and rarely know when to seek help or if it's interfering because of how it affects you, even if eventually it becomes your norm. So here are some examples of when anxiety has probably kicked in. Stage fright, frequent tidying and organizing, sensory overload like feeling drained after sun exposure, being around frequent loud noises, frequent social interactions without breaks, activities that pull all of your five senses in at the same time, etc. You could also feel trouble staying in the present when meditating or praying, maybe moving through consistent rabbit holes and digressions in conversations, trouble powering down your mind, even if your battery is depleted, frequent substance use relaxation, addictions from impulses like overeating, overworking, overthinking, hypersexuality, etc. Deep sadness when inactive throughout the day or not productive, sweating from discomfort in social situations, and etc. This list is not exhaustive, yet can serve as hints that many of us have all felt but may have never really considered anxiety. So, how do you make friends with your anxiety? Well, when you feel like you need to fight or escape, anxiety might be showing up. Our basic emotions can sense a threat, and if the threat causes us to want to fight or escape, especially things we cannot control, the feeling that emerges is often anxiety. If it increases because a threat seems real, then things like panic attacks, flashbacks, and even feeling overwhelmed to tears might actually happen, all because the event is taking place faster than we can process it. Anxiety then becomes our warrior. It fights things before we recognize a threat, all from what our subconscious or instincts might sense as a threat for us before we can make sense of it ourselves. We often ignore or medicate this feeling because many of us are unsure of how to effectively understand and decrease this feeling. We rationalize what our body feels, but anxiety already does the sensing without any ability to confirm a real and actual threat or not, mainly because confirming a real threat is not anxiety's job. Anxiety lets you decide that. So when it does show up, try to talk to it. Let it know you're safe, then thank it for doing its job. If managed, it can actually help creativity and performance in such a wonderful way. It's not always the enemy. If you are a person who usually has a loss of emotional control in situations or often has a fear for this loss, you could be more susceptible to experiencing negative effects of anxiety and then strive to consistently attempt to maintain control over everything happening around you, even things not within your control. Which, trying to control things that are not within your control, is a common denominator for the inception of anxiety. The goal is to find the trigger to why your subconscious feels threatened by the stimuli, then explore a method of coping that calms down the subconscious if ever threatened in the future. As far as coping with anxiety, breathing helps for some, grounding techniques, stress management, even deciding not to multitask or engage with others who trigger an increase in your stress level could all help. Irrationality creates the biggest defeat. So it's important to reframe the threat. That way, anxiety can serve as more of a warning versus something to fear, all because it's not always controlled. Like what you've heard? Then join me every week right here for Therapy Thursday.